The Repair Lot, a one-stop shop where a crack team of experts bring classic cars roaring back to life.
20 years and it's fired up.
Is it then? Hey?
No job is too tough, no car too challenging.
No, I've truly never seen a car like this. It's amazing.
Award-winning motoring journalist Charlie is meeting the owners.
Aaron, welcome to the workshop.
Hello, how are you doing? You all right?
And assessing how to keep their drives alive.
Immediately, that steering column is juddering up and down, isn't it?
Together with old and new school mechanics Derek and Hannah.
Hey,
That's really good, isn't it?
result.
Yeah.
Freya the trimmer.
Right, that's all the stitching done. I'm really happy with that.
And bodywork specialist Jerry Lee.
It brings the whole car together. It really, really looks nice.
The team are on a mission
Oh, wow, it looks so different.
to put any classic in any condition back on the road.
Absolutely fantastic!
This time, a 50s Ford which has lost its spark.
Battery goes flat sometimes. You're worried you're going to break down.
The Thunderbird fails to light up the workshop for Hannah.
Modern standards now, headlights are like really, really bright. They are terrible.
But Derek thinks he might have found an answer.
This should brighten up Gary's day.
A high-mileage Morris Minor arrives at the workshop with an age-old problem.
The engines famously leak oil, but she leaks a bit more than she probably should.
But when the motor comes out, the team discover oil everywhere.
You shouldn't have oil on there.
No.
And you shouldn't have it on the clutch either.
No.
And the deeper they go inside the engine, the worse the problems get.
Car is only running on half power, or even less. This is not a happy engine.
Can the team turn the Thunderbird around and create a classic fit for the 21st century?
As I'm trying to fit this dynator, I'm having real problems. It's actually touching the engine block, which is really bad news.
And save a Morris, which is used as a daily driver, from engine extinction.
Well,
Little wiggle. That's not wanting to go, is it?
Cruising into the workshop today is a Ford Thunderbird, a star car of the 1950s, with a giant V8 engine and iconic wings and chrome styling. This jaw-dropping American classic is owned by Gary, who spent his life trading up to own his dream car. But recently, problems with the electrics have left him frazzled. Charlie is here to talk upgrades on this fabulous Ford.
Gary.
Hi, Charlie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing this utterly gorgeous car along. I mean, this is 1950s Americana to the max, isn't it?
It is, yeah. 1955 Thunderbird. I've always wanted one from a young age. It's absolutely beautiful, all the chrome, and especially with the red as well.
I mean, it really pops, doesn't it?
It's lovely.
I love that shape on the bonnet. And you've got this air intake on here. It's like a little nose. You've got these kind of little fins down the side. It is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and the spoke wheels as well.
Of course.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very sporty. So how do you use this car?
Me and my son, because my son's into classic cars as well. We go to a few shows, go out on a Sunday sometimes with it.
So it's a real father-son project?
Yeah, he absolutely loves it.
Ford pitched this two-seater as a personal luxury car, and the T-Bird took off. The model was in production for 50 years, with 11 different generations. Gary hopes his car has a bright future for him and his son, but right now, it's lost its spark.
The problem is, it's a 6-volt battery. It's not like up-to-date like the 12-volt nowadays.
So it's quite a weak battery that this whole car is running off of.
It is, yeah.
You know, it's a fairly big car, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it has trouble starting because it's slow because of the battery. The battery goes flat sometimes. I normally have a backup battery in the boot.
So it's underwhelming from go?
Yeah, indicators slow, lights dim. You're worried sometimes when you go out if you're going to break down.
Sure, and does that mean that you can't use the car at night? You know, if the headlights aren't working,
Yes, it's not good.
It's not great being out on the road?
No. I'd like to change it to 12 volts, so 12-volt battery, the dynamo, the regulator.
Upgrading from a 6-volt battery to a 12-volt battery isn't as straightforward as it sounds. Electrical systems in classic cars are really complicated. This is a challenge for two reasons. Safety, we need to make sure we get it right, and styling. We want to keep that retro look intact.
A 12-volt electrical upgrade will improve starting and reliability and mean Gary can power up a sat-nav or mobile charger. But it'll be a massive mission for the mechanics.
It's just a very old setup now, the 6-volt. I know some vehicles still have that system set up, but it is an old system. It's just not really up to date, is it?
Not if you want to drive it every day. We've got to update this system, but what we need to do is actually find out what it's like first of all. So I'll turn the lights on and we'll have a look, have a nose.
Yeah, OK.
What do you think? That bad?
They're really bad, aren't they? Especially modern standards now. Headlights are, like, really, really bright. They are terrible. So it's not as simple as changing the battery over to change it to a 12-volt system. I've got to go from the front to the back of the vehicle. It's going to be an all-day job, which involves changing the coil, the ignition system, the charging system, loads of parts that I've got to change just to get it so it can work on a 12-volt.
First job seems simple. Remove the old 6-volt battery.
Now.
Yeah, is that...
The size of that.
I've got the better end of the deal here with the smaller battery. So the 12-volt battery is a lot smaller, but this is just the start of the electrical system change that we're going to have to do. Is that the new battery clamp?
It is a factory battery clamp, but we've got a little problem. It's too big.
For safety, the battery needs to be held firmly in place. Derek needs to find a solution to get the clamp to fit.
We cut these corners,
Yeah.
make it a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and experiment.
Well, I'll get started on the engine.
OK, cool.
Over on the welding table, Derek's first task is to cut the battery clamp down to size.
This is the exciting bit. I really love doing this fabrication. Even though it's just a little bracket, you get so much satisfaction from just making things. So we are... Yeah, we're good. Now what I can do is turn it back over and start tacking this back together, and then we have a bracket.
Derek learned to weld when he was a teenager.
Here we go.
And it's a skill he uses every day, fusing two pieces of metal together at temperatures of a few thousand degrees. Now that's hot.
All I need to do now is just clean this up a little bit further.
Once the rough edges have been taken back, it's time for a test fit.
Yeah, a couple of coats of paint, and this can go on.
While Derek tackles metalwork, Hannah has been troubleshooting the electrical upgrade on the whole car, and now has the parts ready to get started.
So with this, I'm starting in the engine bay, and I'm going to be replacing everything that runs on a 6-volt system. So that means I'm starting with replacing the ignition coil and the distributor, all the components in that. What I'm doing is I'm doing it to a gold star standard, really. Everything is getting replaced. Instead of modifying it, I'm replacing it, upgrading it, so that this car can run on a 12-volt system in a modern era.
Sometimes freeing off parts that have been in place since the 1950s isn't simple.
It is a little bit fiddly. Also, with older nuts, they're actually skinnier. So trying to get a spanner on them sometimes can be a little bit more difficult. Right, there we go. So they're the points and condenser now out. So what I'm replacing this with is a new 12-volt electronic ignition. Electronic ignition gives you less moving parts. You don't need to adjust them, and it's just a more reliable system that I'm going to be putting in there.
Same style and look in the engine bay, but better performance. Result. And the wins keep coming.
And what I'm going to do next is replace this 6-volt dynamo with something a bit more modern. Because this is a very old system, so this charges the battery up and is only suitable for 6-volt, I'm going to put a new uprated 12-volt dynamo in.
The old dynamo is a heavy bit of kit that has to power up the whole car. But technology has moved on a lot recently, and Hannah has a clever new addition for the Ford.
So what this is actually something a little bit different. It's actually a dynator, which is a cross between a dynamo and an alternator. Now, it looks just like the dynamo I've taken off, but it's actually got modern technology inside. So the dynamo that I took off was a 6-volt system. It had like a brushes system and used a direct current to charge the battery. Now, an alternator is a little bit different. It has an alternating current that it produces to charge the system and is a lot more efficient.
But every silver lining has a cloud.
As I'm trying to fit this dynator, I'm having real problems, and what the issue seems to be is that it's just not sitting right. So it's not sitting flat, which will mean the pulley's not in line, so the belt will come off. But also, where I put the positive cable onto the back, it's actually touching the engine block, which is really bad news.
At the repair lot, the team are doing a major electrical upgrade on a rare 50s Ford. But Hannah's pretty teed off with the T-Bird because the replacement part won't fit.
So I can see on the edge of this, it's got a slight bit of red paint there where it's been hitting the engine block. I'm just going to take these off. Got quite a bit of thread there, which I don't necessarily need all that. So what I'm going to do is take about 4 mil off that, and then that will shorten it so that it shouldn't then hit the engine block. It should sit straight, the belt will stay on the pulley, and then I'll be able to get that wire on there easier, and then it won't foul the engine block. It's really common when you fit parts on a classic car that they don't fit straight away. It happens all the time. There's the amount of times I've bought parts and had to modify them.
Some car parts are built to work across different models and years. So Hannah needs to do some custom work on the dynator, taking a vital few mils off the back thread.
That is a lot better. So it's actually now sitting straight. We're no longer hitting the engine block, which is excellent. So I'm just going to fit it all in now.
Back on track, Hannah cracks on with her upgrade mission. Heading down the country lanes towards the workshop today is a Morris Minor, a quintessentially British classic car. Its rounded curves and friendly face have been around on the road since the 1940s. Driver Becca has made this model her own with plenty of custom touches. But recently, the motor on the Minor has run out of puff, spilling oil wherever it goes. Charlie is here to see if the team can help out.
Becca, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the workshop.
Thank you very much.
This interior looks amazing. Red, white and blue. Doesn't get much more British than that.
Yeah, her interior is her original interior, which has been in here since 1968, so it's a little bit tired. So it meant that I could have a little bit of fun with it to kind of tie it in with the theming that I've given the car. And then kind of the red carpets inside, and then her blanket, which shows all the places that I've taken her to in the 2.5 years that I've had her.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I can see an awful lot of badges on there.
Yeah.
Like, how many journeys are we talking here?
It's something like 26,000 miles in the time that I've had her. Used her as a daily and our only car for quite a lot of time.
The Morris Minor has been a mainstay of the classic car scene for years, a reliable and practical four-seater. It's Becca's first car, and she's certainly been putting in the miles.
I use it to get to and from my job as a criminology lecturer.
Wow.
And the students find it kind of interesting and fascinating. They like to know kind of what I've been up to in it when I come in on a Monday. And then also kind of alongside that, I wanted to share my experiences of using a classic car pretty regularly. So when I'm driving around in her, I record podcasts so that you can hear the sound of the engine and stuff in the background and hear kind of what I've been up to, what I've had to work on to keep her going.
As a mobile studio, the Minor is an essential bit of podcasting kit for Becca. But it's also a big part of her cosplay social life too.
I noticed you've got the name Peggy just here in the window. So
Yeah.
tell me more, who is Peggy?
Peggy Carter is from the Marvel comics. She started off as being someone who worked alongside Captain America, but has recently kind of got her whole own extra stories attached to her. I just really like her as a character. I cosplay as her as well. So I jokingly call her my most expensive cosplay accessory because I do photo shoots with the car and the character as well because it fits with the era that her TV series was. She's pretty strong-willed, she's pretty feisty, and she usually kind of gets the job done, which is exactly what Peggy's done for me for the last 2.5 years, I'd say.
Reliable it may be, but every classic car reaches the end of the road, and Becca has recently begun to worry about issues under the bonnet.
Based on the paperwork she came with, I think it's her original engine that she left the factory with in 1968, and it's done about 130,000 miles. So the engines famously leak oil. There's a saying that's associated with any of the engines that left the factory that if they don't leak oil, then there's probably not any oil in it. But she leaks a bit more than she probably should.
So what symptoms is the car showing to make you think that there's something going on there, other than the leak?
Other than the leak. To start with, the clutch pedal's making a lot of vibrations and stuff when I use it at low speeds. And also, I've had a few trips this summer that have included pretty large hills, and she's been a bit embarrassing when we've attempted them to kind of make sure that she lasts going forward. Like I said, that idea of a forever car, this really needs addressing before it causes any more problems. And the hope is that I can go and tackle some more adventures in more hilly areas without being too worried about it.
A huge oil leak means one thing: trouble. Major motor surgery on the minor. The pressure is on with Peggy.
This is a massive responsibility we've got on our hands because this car means so much to Becca. She uses it every day and it really reflects her character and her personality.
Mechanics Derek and Hannah have worked on plenty of miners. And it's not long before they've struck oil.
Look at all that. It's covered in oil.
Yeah, we've got it down the back of the engine here, look. And all the way down the chassis. Oh, look at this.
It's covered, isn't it? It's just loads of it and drips of it as well, which shows that it's a big oil leak. It's not just sat on the parts, it's actually dripping as well. So this is going to be a major job. We're going to have to take out engine, gearbox, assess the clutch, because we've probably got oil contamination. Yeah. So it's not just as easy as seals or gaskets on this, I don't think. We're going to have to strip all this down.
It could be a big problem.
Yeah.
First job, drain the oil. At least there's some left in the engine.
Pretty dirty, isn't it? Doesn't look like it's been changed for a while.
No, and trouble that could be wear on the pistons and bore.
Right.
So it's fuel and carbon coming down through. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bad start. If the oil is dirty, there may be major damage inside the motor. The engine definitely needs a full strip down. Dropping the coolant is next.
Stand back or the water's going to come out in a minute.
Together, they work fast to tear down the engine, ready to lift it out.
Watch your legs.
A bit more. There we go.
Oh, I'm lifting the whole car up. We need to put it off the gearbox.
Houston, we have liftoff.
OK.
Yep, go on. A bit more.
Yeah.
We're ripping Peggy's heart out.
It's so cruel. We're free. Yep.
Yep, 3.
Yeah, because I don't want to hit that bonnet up there. Ready? All right.
It's out.
Look how small it is.
This hasn't been out for a long time.
No. What a tiny little engine, though.
I think Peggy needs a little bit of looking after.
Definitely.
The engine is covered in oil. It's criminal. Derek and Hannah will have to follow the clues to solve this puzzling leak. And there's evidence everywhere they look.
I mean, the gearbox isn't looking too good either, is it? I mean, look at the oil that's managed to get into that.
Yeah, down all the way through, it's just dripping and spraying everywhere.
This is bad news. The oil leak is turning into a major cleanup operation.
You shouldn't have oil on there.
No.
And you shouldn't have it on the clutch either.
No.
At the repair lot, a much-loved British classic has sprung a major oil leak. Derek and Hannah have wrestled the motor out, but it's covered in black gold. Now it's time to assess the clutch, which connects the motor to the gearbox and is bolted to the back of the engine.
There we go. You got the clutch?
Yep.
So it's clearly smeary, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's had a little bit of oil on that. This is slightly worn as well. So it's good practice, obviously, once you take a gearbox off to change the clutch.
You don't want to be doing this again.
No.
But this is getting bigger and bigger and all the parts are adding up.
Today, automobilia expert Abby is meeting up with Alan, who's previously visited the workshop with his Leyland Princess.
Hi, Alan.
Hi.
Come in.
Thank you.
This time, he's on a very personal mission to raise money for charity and is asking the team for help.
So, lovely to see you.
And you?
And I understand that you're up to something to raise some money, so tell us a bit about that.
The whole reason I'm into classic cars and motor racing, or automobilia, you know, that kind of stuff is through my dad. Roy, at a young age, my nan and granddad used to take him to motorsport events. And it's gone on from there. He then went on to do rallying and racing. And then I came along, and so he couldn't afford to do that anymore, so he started marshalling and being involved in organising events and stuff. And I was basically 6 weeks old when I went to my first race meeting, so I had no hope, basically.
Yeah.
It was in the blood. We were at a race meeting pretty much every other weekend or a car event. We used to go to the British Grand Prix every year, but him and I used to marshal.
Wow.
He actually got to wave the checkered flag at Silverstone at the end of one of the British Grand Prix one year. Sadly, I lost him in November of last year. And St Catherine's Hospice stepped in when no one else would help us, you know, completely free of charge. They came in every day, looked after him. Even the day we lost him, they came in the morning and, you know, looked after him, washed him, cleaned all the rest of it. And so I want to raise as much money as possible to give something back to thank them for all their help and the support that they gave myself and my mum.
It was a life spent in cars, which the whole family shared. Decades of time spent around British classics and racing, which gave Alan the idea of celebrating Roy's life and raising some money at a local car meet where he's doing a takeover for the hospice.
Is there anything that we can do specifically? Do you have any ideas?
If we could have something that we could auction off or raffle off, something automotive that we can have at the event and say, look, we're going to sell this in memory of my dad.
Yeah, something that gives a nod to classic cars and your dad's
automotive,
history and
classic
memories.
cars, motor racing, anything and everything.
Yeah, but also saleable that we can get you some good money for to go towards the hospice.
Yeah.
I think we can come up with something pretty good.
Brilliant.
So leave it with us and we'll see what we can come up with.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm really excited about starting Alan's commission, and I know that everybody in the workshop will be too. It's really important that whatever we make is as saleable as possible to get as most money as we can for charity.
Abby gives Derek the challenge of creating the auction items. He's decided to build a few custom clocks using parts he's found around the workshop. A classic race steering wheel, some wheel covers, and a piece of old aluminium.
So this aluminium sheet I've got here will be quite a good base to fit my clock, but I'm going to have to cut it and get it the right size.
Derek uses a cutting disc to create the circular base which will sit inside the steering wheel centre.
That looks good, about the right size. I need to take all these rough edges off.
The base is cleaned up, then test fitted so Derek can drill out holes to fix it in place, using the original nuts and bolts. Before the final fit, Derek finishes off the aluminium base by giving it a really strong buff on an industrial cleaner.
It's a long process. He's getting there.
So that's the polished aluminium base sorted. But over in the paint booth, Derek has another idea to give the piece a proper motorsport feel.
I'm going to paint these hands red, because red counts as red, and this should appeal to someone that loves cars. I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to do both sides.
As the paint dries, Derek tries out some other clock ideas on the wheel trims.
That might work.
He's hoping to make 3 clocks in all to help Alan raise the most cash he can from the charity auction. With the Morris Minor, Hannah has headed to the bench for a deep dive into the engine.
So what I've found is, from looking at it, is that we've got an oil leak from a seal that joins the engine and the gearbox together. So basically this seal should keep the oil in the engine and it's just not doing its job. So that's one of the problems that we've got.
Leaks can be a symptom of something much worse internally, so Hannah wants to see the condition inside the engine.
So that's the last of the cylinder head nuts that hold all this part of the engine on. And basically, once I take this off, it should give me a real indication of what condition this engine is in. Oh, dear. Right. So this is the top of the pistons. We've got 4 bores here, and then the pistons come up. On top is actually a lot of carbon build-up. So this engine hasn't been working properly.
Hannah can't get the full picture until she's taken a closer look at the cylinder head, which could offer up some more clues.
So on this head, you can see that these 2 valves are different colours. So it indicates that possibly this engine was only running on 2 cylinders, really. So it's quite surprising that this car's been able to drive because it just wouldn't have the power that it should have. So what's gone from just changing a few gaskets and investigating an oil leak has now turned into some really extensive engine work. This is going to have to be stripped down and rebuilt.
While Hannah tracks down new parts for the minor motor, engine expert Derek is having a forensic look at criminologist Becca's cylinder head to get the rebuild underway.
As the piston comes up and down, the valve opens and shuts. And what's happened, there's either been debris, anything that's got in there, and eventually what happens is it's slightly ajar, and there could be chips, anything, which allows the gases to come through, which then does not create the proper explosion to drive this up and down, which means the car is only running on half power or even less. And this is not a happy engine.
It's going to need a lot of work, but Derek is keen to crack on. He knows he can fix the valves right away with some old school skill.
I've got some grinding paste. And just put a little bit on the edge of the valve. Poke it in. You can hear grinding. So this is grinding the valves in, and it's a very fine paste. And what it basically does is then gives the seat a fresh seal. So any build-up, any little indents, we get rid of.
The golden rule is patience. It requires a huge amount of skill and judgment to get all these finely tuned parts working perfectly together.
That's got to be done to everyone to make sure this engine is running the best it can be.
On the Ford Thunderbird, Hannah has got the space-age dashboard out, making sure another vital electrical job is sorted.
I've got all of the wiring here for the gauges, the speedo. So one of the changes I'm going to have to make on this is I'm actually going to have to put a diode in. What that will do is, as the 12-volt comes in, it will actually put it back down to the original 6-volt. These are all period gauges, so it's important that I keep these as they are and that we don't transfer them over to 12-volt because they're just not available.
At the same time, Hannah is swapping out the remaining bulbs which need a 12-volt upgrade.
always good to get nice fiddly jobs done without breaking anything, so that's all back in there.
There's one final task on the Thunderbird for Derek. He's changing the headlight bulbs to work with the new 12-volt battery.
There we go.
Left as 6-volt bulbs, they blow.
Now, this is a 6-volt sealed beam, but I'll show you the difference. We're going to be doing an upgrade, but what it's got is here, like today's modern cars, it's a halogen bulb. So this will be a much brighter light.
Halogen bulbs are also twice as energy efficient as the old incandescent ones.
This should brighten up Gary's day.
The electrical upgrade is now complete, and Derek gets to take off in the T-Bird.
Hey! Driving Gary's Thunderbird. We've upgraded it from 6-volt to 12-volt. It runs better, starts better, the lights are brighter. It's just what he needed.
When it arrived, the Thunderbird looked stunning, but shocking electrical issues with startup, lights and reliability ruined the driving experience. Owner Gary was scared to take it out at night and worried about breaking down during the day. Now the team have transformed this 50s classic into a confident 21st century cruiser. Today, Gary returns, hoping his T-Bird has got its vital spark back.
Gary,
Hi, Charlie.
you all right, mate?
How are
you
you?
doing?
You all right?
Nice to see you again. Welcome back to the workshop.
Oh, I'm excited to see what's going on.
So you ready for it?
I am, yeah. It's lovely. Every time I see it, I just love it. More and more every time.
Please take a seat.
Lovely. Let's go for it.
Hey!
Oh, on the button.
How does that feel to, you know, to turn that key and for it to fire up straight away?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Go on, give it another breath.
That's exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted.
I think it's time we checked out the headlights. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh, lovely. And really bright.
A lot bigger than a candle flame, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Nice and bright, you know, full beam ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant.
The path ahead looks bright for the T-Bird. Lights blazing, an engine on point, an American icon reborn.
Lovely. It's lovely. It's just a pleasure to get back in it. Looking forward to going down the coast in it with my wife. And maybe a few classic car shows with my boy. It's just so nice that they've gone right for it. Appreciate what they've done. Done a lovely job.
At the repair lot, Derek has his hands full assembling the steering wheel clock for the charity auction.
So my red hands are dry. I'm just trying to fit them now. Really fiddly. Making sure they're on and not going to touch any of the steering wheel. I think that one's there. It's not what I'm used to. I'm used to big V8 engines, not dear little hands. But this is definitely worthwhile. Raising money for a charity. Yep. I've got a timepiece. I can hear it ticking, that's good.
The two-wheel trim timepieces are next to go together. Derek's upcycled automobilia is looking awesome. Today, Alan is bang on time. He doesn't know what the team have come up with, but he knows the countdown is on to the charity event to honour his dad and raise funds for the hospice which helped him.
It's lovely to see you
And
again.
you.
Come on in.
Thank you.
You excited then,
Very,
Alan?
very excited to see what we've got. I'm so
Okay, you're
excited.
going to help me?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, just be careful. There we go.
Oh my God,
What do you think?
they're amazing.
Do you like them?
They're incredible. My dad would have absolutely loved them.
Do you think he'd want one for himself?
He would. It reflects his love of cars and his racing from when he was younger days. So I don't want to sell it now. I want to keep it for myself.
I want that one as well. I love it.
They are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I really don't know what to
Give
say.
us a hug. Oh.
They are fantastic.
Wow, that was emotional. I nearly cried. Alan is over the moon with what we've made for him, and I really hope that they do well for him at the auction.
They are just absolutely amazing. You couldn't have done it any better.
He's done a good job, hasn't he?
He's done an amazing job, yeah, fantastic.
It's been a busy few days for Derek. Now, at last, he can focus on building up the minor engine from scratch with new and freshly cleaned parts. It's a real labour of love. Eventually, the rebuilt motor is ready to go back in.
This looks so good. It's cleaned up really, really nice, Derek.
Not only is it clean, but it's got more power now. We're running on 4 cylinders. We've got new gaskets. All the head's been worked. It's got new pistons. It's got new bearings. It's a whole new lease of life.
Yeah.
We've also had a new clutch and new pressure plate.
That's really good. This is going to be so different for her to drive.
Swinging the engine back in should be simple.
Right. Well, slowly.
But the Morris isn't playing ball.
Here we go. Little wiggle. Oh, go. That's not wanting to go, is it?
A jiggle here,
I think it's just a bit tight on.
an adjustment there, and
There we go.
We're in.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right, let's get some bolts and do it up.
It's a little thing with a big struggle.
a morning of careful prep, topping up all the fluids and double-checking the connections. And the Morris is ready for the first firing.
You ready?
Yep, all good here. All clear. Hands clear. Nose is clear.
Right, trying again.
Yeah.
Come on. Nearly. Come on.
Hey! Wow, that sounds really good.
Wow. Sounds incredible.
Yeah, it really ticks over well.
I'm pleased with that. Are you pleased?
Yeah,
You must
very
be
pleased. I'm relieved, relieved.
This is going to be so much better for Becca.
I just know how important it is to her, so
Yeah.
really pleased with it.
What a great job. This car will be able to be used as a daily now for another 30, 40 years. Once Becca gets behind the wheel, she'll realise how much different the engine now will be.
And after all that engine surgery, Dr. Derek gives it a full shakedown.
Peggy has got a new heart. A new, gleaming, powerful heart. I'm really pleased to have been involved in doing this for Becca. I can really understand now why she loves this car. This is a fun car, a drivable car that really brought it back to life.
It's been a tough time for criminology lecturer Becca without her alter ego Peggy. But now she's on her way in for an emotional reunion. When the Morris arrived, it was dripping oil and down on power. The jobs list snowballed as Derek and Hannah delved deeper into the exhausted engine. Now reborn, the Miner is ready for a major role in Becca's life once again.
Becca, hi. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Oh, it's been a little while, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It's the longest I've been without her, so really excited to get her back.
I'd like you to help me, if that's OK. So,
Yeah.
Ready?
Great to see you again.
I'm going to pop the bonnet and I'm going to talk you through exactly what's happened to get the car back on the road.
OK, great. It looks a lot cleaner in here than it was when I'd left it, so that's good.
So Derek and Hannah did a real forensic investigation to find out why Peggy wasn't, you know, going up the hills and things like that.
Yep.
And you mentioned that there was that oil leak. Now, that was a problem. It has been fixed. It was leaking onto the clutch. That's all been rebuilt, so the car is ready for some more miles.
Great.
But the major problem was the heart of the Morris Minor. So when Hannah was taking the engine apart, she found that basically the car was only running on 2 cylinders, which is why you just didn't have that power that you were looking for.
Wow. That's, yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, that's a big surprise to think that she'd been doing so much on just 2 cylinders. It'd be amazing to kind of see what she can do when she's got all of them going.
Part of what Becca does for a living is all about like clues and solving problems. And she knew something was wrong, but she had absolutely no idea the problems were this serious. So she is really quite shocked. I mean, I have to say that you brought the car here just in time because, you know, Derek and Hannah, when they were working through this, they were pretty shocked to discover what they did. And, you know, they were quite surprised that you actually got here in the first place. So I think you've been really lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds it.
Peggy is no longer going to leave her calling card, which was a nice patch of oil on people's driveways and on the road.
Yep, gonna get those all cleaned up now and hopefully they'll stay clean for the foreseeable. I'm so grateful that they've taken such good care of my best car, and thanks so much for making such a big difference to her future and keeping her going.
The team did a top-class diagnosis and solved the Peggy puzzle. Now Becca can get back behind the wheel.
Oh my gosh, it feels so different. It's so good to know that the engine is rebuilt and so much stronger and running a lot better than it was before. It feels like a changed car.
And there's more good news. Alan got in touch to say the clocks Derek made raised £390 at the charity auction for the hospice.